Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take a quick look at Solana, see what's going on. We'll start with some liquidation data, support and resistance levels, and kind of see where we're at. We are in the resistance range here still. Remember, just kind of refresh your memory. A closure above 260 would give us maybe a green light to continue higher. I say maybe because there's obviously a lot of confirming factors we want to look for that may or may not be present today versus the ones that were here yesterday. So a lot of things we want to look at. But the key takeaway here is that I'm feeling fairly confident that along with Solana makes sense. All right, so we'll double check that and a few other things. Of course, I said the same exact thing about SUI a moment ago, and pretty much it is underperforming by the end of the analysis. It was pretty obvious that not really worth the trade. So again, that can definitely change. So make sure you tune in for the whole video. Like the video, comment below if you get a chance. Deeply appreciate those who are like super supportive, even those who aren't, and trying to discover, maybe something that's a little more knowledgeable, right? Again, I'm not perfect by any stretch. No one truly is, but I can tell you that the success rate that we have as a community is generally higher because we would just wait for confirmation. And keep in mind, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities by doing that. So that's one thing you got to recognize. But over the last 20 years of trading, I can tell you, best thing I've ever done is wait for confirmation. And while you find less opportunities, a lot more pass you by, it's still a much better place to be. Okay, so let's take a look at last 12 hours of liquidation. It's not looking great. In other words, in the last 12 hours, we're seeing a lot of longs in the 250, low 250s, right? With stop losses right there and or liquidation events at 253. So we've got pretty much a lot of high leveraged longs at the low 250s. All the more reason why that area may get hit here again, just based on the simple trading 101, market makers 101, right? They have a tendency of wanting to sweep those areas of liquidation. So again, taking a long in the 250 range, 245, might seem a lot more sensible than taking a long right now, okay? And again, it's easy to want to kind of long the top because we have officially established higher highs and higher lows. But from a liquidation perspective, the last 12 hours, that's not fantastic. Again, you don't take trades solely on one thing, but it's important to kind of recognize that. All that being said, we take a look here at the price action here for liquidation delta. We can see there's more longs than shorts, but it's just kind of running flat. So people are not like getting super heavy with their positions. And in turn, if we're seeing low volume and the price is going up, that does imply a pullback is going to be a little bit harder, or we're going to see more of an aggressive pullback because the volume is pretty low, right? Again, I'm not saying that it is, but based on liquidation, if it's running flat, then there's less people taking trades, and in turn, it's probably just the algorithms running the price in the right direction. So in this case here, we can see heaviest positions at 250, secondary is 262 and 256. So we're pretty much right in the middle of this range. So we're probably going to be in a type of squeeze here where the price either breaks up or breaks down. This type of pattern is bullish. Okay, so obviously we'll look at the price structure here in a minute, but the truth is when you see this type of higher highs, higher lows in somewhat of a rectangular pattern, it's more likely to break up than down. Okay, so let's take a look at the daily time frame and let's kind of see where we're at. So the daily time frame is always going to be pretty bullish. Most coins are showing a lot of bullish strength right now. Just on the macro perspective, again, we got both moving averages at 210, 215 range. We're over 50 on the RSI, haven't fully overextended. Stochastic is pulling back, and every time we've seen stochastic pull back, again, it's mainly pulling back because of this very significant uptick here at 295. We're kind of seeing the price action reflect that. So if you do look here, you can kind of see we're pretty much, for the most part, our daily candlestick is having difficulty closing above this 260. That's the all-time high, right? It's both reflected here and previous back in 2021. All that being said, though, we can see a very similar scenario here with the local high working as a new low, right, at 243. So we're pretty much in this range for the last roughly four and a half trading days, okay? So in that time frame, we can recognize that, hey, a closure below 243 may spell further downside, closure above 260, likely further upside. That's kind of what that tells us here again. You can be range bound for some time. Eventually, it's going to break one way or the other. And oftentimes when it squeezes like this with higher volume, even though volume's tapering off, it is still high volume nonetheless. We're probably going to be a little more likely to see the price explode in either direction. It'll probably be a pretty quick move. All that being said, though, daily time frame is still very bullish, right? So generally speaking, you don't want to short into that because the macro structure is bullish. However, you got to recognize it doesn't mean that the price action can't still pull back, okay? We already identified that $200 to $210 mark is kind of that point of control based on supports and moving averages. And that does imply there's a lot of room between now and then. So hypothetically here in 210, that's like a 17% correction, okay? So I'm not proposing we won't see that happen, just because the daily time frame is bullish, but it's important to recognize the overall trend is up. And if you do consider a short at this exact moment, it could be inherently more risky. Okay, so just know that. All right, 4-hour time frame. We're above the 20-day SMA and all of the moving averages. That's awesome. So this is exactly why you see in a lot of cases when prices break descending trend lines, retest them bullishly and continue higher. It's a lot of it has to do with the support of the actual moving average. While I don't like to say, and I just keep it simple, moving averages are not support levels. They're just good little trend setters, letting us know what side of the tracks we're on. Well, right now we're tentatively breaking bullish. And I say tentative because obviously, Bitcoin pulls back further, we will see the same thing for Solana. But Solana held fairly well together if you compare it with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin for the last, that's about 24 hours of divergence. We can see Solana pretty much is up and slightly down instead of just only down. So that kind of price structure gives me more confidence in wanting to take a trade with this coin based on that factor. We zoom out a little bit here, we can see our point of control here for Solana is right there where the price action's at, 255. So we got support at 255, and then of course that low 243, or just say round number 245, right? 245, 255 are the ranges in which a good consideration for a long might be worthwhile, okay? Let me clarify that too, because we're over 50 on the RSI. Not a lot of coins can say this. Bitcoin, let's make it easy here. Bitcoin is testing 50 on the RSI right now, where Solana is nicely above. It gives me confidence in knowing that we're on the right side of tracks. This is viewed as a coin that people want to purchase, and that in combination with increased volume leads me to believe we're in pretty good shape. Keep in mind though, can see money flow index is having some trouble, but you do also got to understand that the last 14 candles are pretty bearish. So this money flow index is going to be somewhat of a false positive. However, if we do take a look at volume, it is moderately low. So generally speaking, you don't want to take longs into low volume. You want to wait for that breakout to occur. So say we get more volume and 260 plus, that'd be a cause for consideration, or at least a better cause for consideration. Not to say now it's not a good time. It's just that we're tentatively topping out here with stochastic. Again, that's just kind of a momentous indicator. But concurrently, we're trying to converge with the MACD and haven't yet, right? So we got a potential breakout on our hands, but it hasn't happened yet. Again, obviously the charts will reflect that. So hourly time frame. This will be the last thing that I wanted to look at to kind of confirm where we're at, and we're pretty close to being in a good situation. So in other words, here let's explain this here. Let me remove this here. We know this is the resistance range. I'll go ahead and draw out a new playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, or Discord and post that. Looks a little something like this if you're not familiar. And we take a look here, we can see that we're tentatively breaking out of the cloud here, right? Just that natural break of the descending trend, okay? And this is a short-term trend line, of course, but either way you look at it, the lower high pattern is being broken. We can see we've established higher lows, tentatively, of course, tentative, and higher highs here. While the candle wick is some cases not a good consideration, it's still a good understanding here that we're retesting this resistance level, and if we break above, we may see a retest of that as a support before it breaks up higher, okay? So again, a lot of good things here in this sense, but what I get at here though is that the conversion line's over the baseline, we got good momentum. We are officially breaking free from the cloud, and again, you could even consider this as a bullish backtest of the descending trend line too. These are generally favorable signs. Now, my common rule of thumb is to wait for about 2 to 4 hours at least above the cloud to ensure that you're maintaining that. But with this local point of control here at about 255, I think there's a solid chance we're going to see the price action here for Solana break out to the upside. So overall, most everything we see here is bullish. While it's not a perfect exact situation, the way that Solana is outperforming Bitcoin for the moment leads me to believe that it's probably going to continue further up, pending Bitcoin doesn't make an aggressive move to the downside. And so far, Bitcoin is printing a nice bullish triangle and confirming a lot of other factors too. Please note, if you are new to the channel or you've been watching me for a while and maybe you overlooked this, triangle patterns, whatever patterns you're drawing on the charts, they mean nothing if the rest of the chart is the opposite, okay? Bullish triangle, price derived from the downside working itself into a lower high parallel low pattern. It's generally favorable to the upside, right? We may see a power 3 lower sweep here, liquidation at 100,000 first, but the key takeaway here is that Bitcoin is likely to continue higher, okay? That in combination with Solana performing contrary to Bitcoin, doing well, at least better than Bitcoin, and not invalidating with this descending trend line, leads me to believe we're probably more likely to see further upside. How high is it going to go? It's really hard to say, but I would say you're probably better off securing profits before the 285 level. And in fact, if we do take a look at liquidation here, we can see from a macro perspective, 280 and roughly 268 are those two areas. So securing profits before those levels is generally a favorable consideration. But at this point here, getting above our local all-time high of 260, retesting that bullishly, like we're kind of sort of seeing here with a bit of an overextension bounce off of the local point of control, those are all favorable signs, okay? Again, please understand, I'm not trying to convince you that you should take along with this coin. It's just that everything on the charts is telling us that taking a short with this coin would be a bad idea right now. And the opposite of that is, well, hypothetically a long position. So again, make sure you use proper risk tolerance and you're not getting too crazy with your trades. Low leverage, low position size. Like I took a couple of trades last night with our community. Granted, they're both slightly in the red. They were lower leverage than we normally take because again, it felt like we were taking along at the top, which hypothetically was true. They're just good breakout coins, and they did break out, just didn't quite hit the targets. Having said all that, the whole point of me mentioning that is just that you want to be careful and cautious in how you trade. Risk tolerance is a big part of trading. So you can analyze the charts all day long and be a complete buffoon and use 100x leverage and get liquidated and destroy your account. You don't do that. You use low leverage, you use a small position size of your overall available portfolio, and you trade responsibly. That's how you survive the markets. That way, if you're wrong, you take a small loss. If you win, while you might take a smaller win, you're still going to take more consistent wins, okay? And that's the key takeaway. You're not destroying your account in the meantime. Anyways, that's all available for you in my community if you want to become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech is the site. We talk about that a lot in our groups here. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much again for your time. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.